Well, we had some big news overnight and the market clearly loved it. The US Senate has just cleared a major hurdle in passing the Genius Act with a final vote expected after Memorial Day. Now, this is being seen as one of the most pro-crypto pieces of legislation to move through the Senate in years, and Bitcoin's reaction was instant, spiking back to about 106,800 on the news. According to Crypto News, we see here that they're saying that this bill sets the standard for digital assets oversight, supporting both innovation and consumer protection. The article also highlights that the Genius Act has bipartisan backing, which is rare and extremely bullish, quoting Senator 𝗟𝗏𝗃𝗏, stating that this groundbreaking bipartisan legislation will bring America's payment system into the 21st century. 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗶𝗿 also adds that the legislation seeks to lay down a clear regulatory framework for stablecoins that have grown substantially and now have an aggregate market cap exceeding $250 billion. But some members of Congress had criticized the Genius Act, even as it won bipartisan backing. Senator Elizabeth Warren was worried that the measure would potentially allow President Donald Trump to use it to expand his stablecoin venture, which is USD1, and his meme coin. She said it allowed Trump to regulate his own digital currency. So either way, the market liked the news because it reduces regulatory uncertainty, it increases confidence, and it paves the way for institutional capital to flow into crypto without legal risks. But while Bitcoin reacted quickly, I know for you guys, the real question is which altcoins will benefit the most. And so this post here from 𝗧𝗶𝗃𝗵, trader and one of my mentors, he actually says that the winners of the stablecoin bill are projects built around stablecoins. And he's named here 𝗟𝗵𝗶𝗃𝗏 and Curve. So these ones are coins tied to DeFi infrastructure and real-world use cases. So in today's stream, I'm going to chart these particular ones, and we're going to try to look for some smart entries. But before we do that, we, of course, as always, we need to break down how the price has played out for Bitcoin since my last update. And as I get into that, I want you guys to make sure that you like this video nice and early and subscribe to the channel if you're new and turn on the bell so that you don't miss future updates like this, especially when I go live, because it's definitely time sensitive stuff when we do that. So let's take a look at Bitcoin now. We are in Discord, we just recently took a short, so probably a little bit late of an entry if you're not already short. But I just want to, before I explain that move, I want to talk about the price action since my last update. Now, if you happen to catch the Sunday update, I've left everything on the chart so that I can explain it to you. On Sunday, I mentioned a possibility of, from the weekend trap, let me go down to the 15-minute time frame. We had the weekend trap consolidation that happens on the weekend, and there was a couple of scenarios that I spoke about, but the two main liquidation levels were these two down here. There was also another one lower at about 100K, which is still available on the chart here. But my ideal scenario for the opening week play was that we would come and take these out. Now, turns out that we spiked up first before we came back to take them. But at the end of the day, the main thing is because those levels were so high, there was a lot of liquidity at these two levels, which is what I was talking about on the video. The main thing was to see what happened at either of those levels, because we know that that's going to be the easiest target for the market maker. And it was just a matter of waiting to see when they come for it. So it was kind of a good sign that they did come for it nice and early. Asia session was a really weird one, running this trend to the downside. We know why that happened, But at the end of the day, when you have a look, it did come down to that exact liquidity level. So what I was saying on that video was look for the first level and see how price reacts to see if you're going to get a bounce there. That will give you the hint that that is all they want and they're not coming for any more. That didn't happen. You'll see here that we break right through. So once we break right through a high liquidity level, you then expect that they're going to come for the next one, and you just reset and you just wait for the next one to see what happens there. So this one got taken out and was no longer relevant. And then when we got to this one, you can see we had the initial spike was a hammer, which is very common, right? Because that hammer represents the liquidations being picked up, because liquidations are just an order in the opposite direction, okay? So it comes down, picks that up initially, and then you're waiting for the follow through. And you can see in the following two candles, they held that level. So that was a good sign. And if you understand the TBD system, then you also know that the best time to look for your trades is at the session changeovers, right? When you have the confirmation. So the first spike down took us to end of Asia. And that was your hint to start looking for a reversal, not necessarily to enter yet, but to start looking for a reversal, signaling the potential end of the one-day false move that happens that opens the week. So then price did move away and it did come back to that level, and it repeated that level at the end of the UK. Now, that right there, that makes this a multi-session W. You could probably also say it's a H pattern. It would pass as that as well, but for the sake of just being easy, let's just call it a W. And the very fact that it gave us that and then it held stable in the next session changeover between UK to US, that's where aggressive traders get in. So this was the point to get an entry. Now, let me just change a setting on my indicator, because I just want to give you an example of how easily you can make money in a short period of time. I'm going to change this to 2 days to show you something. So if you had have done that, now remember I said to you the best time to get entries is at the session changeovers. So if you had have taken an entry there, it would have been any of these candles. So remember, you don't need the perfect entry. You just need to time your exits really well. And any of these candles would have been good enough. And your stop loss now only needs to be under that low of the day, because we repeated the level. So this here is proof to you that they don't want to go lower than that day's initial low of the day, which happens in Asia. So then your target initially is back to 50% Asia. Now, if you had just taken that trade, that was a 4.7 to 1 risk to reward, and that would have hit, let's mark this out, that would have hit in 2 hours. So to give you an example, if you were risking $100 on this trade, you would have made $470 in 2 hours. That's how you do the math, right? So there's nothing better than day trading is the point of it. But anyway, point being, there was a very easy, good setup here. And so that's where a few of us did take a long position inside the Discord. And now what we have to look for on Tuesdays is we need to know if the 3-day trend is starting. That's the tricky part now, because I find this price action to be a little bit, what's the word that I want to use? It's a bit uncertain, I would say. And why I say that is if I go back to the 1 hour, so now we know we got that move. All these vector candles here are blue. They're not green. So that means they did come with a spike in volume in comparison to the candles prior, but not a huge spike in volume. So that move up was on not incredibly high volume, which means it's not incredibly high, what's the word? Conviction, okay? So that means we have to remain cautious. So I'll tell you how I'm personally playing this right now. My long position is still open. Now I've been long since 74K, and I'm riding that until hopefully 120 if we get there, okay? So we don't have to talk about longs for Bitcoin on this channel. You can assume that I'm long unless the higher time frame daily market structure changes. But in between that, in order to protect that trade, because it's a high time frame trade, I'm always looking to hedge my position so that on the pullbacks, I'm still making money. So like I mentioned to you earlier that I shorted here. Now let me tell you why. If I go back again to the 1 hour time frame, actually this is gone now too. So if I go back to the 1 hour time frame, have a look, see this vector candle, it's really large, right? And then when you mark out the halfway mark of it, it's at about 106.120, which is also at around about the high of the week from last week. So that's a very key area, somewhere around there, and also 50% of Asia today. So this whole area here is really key. And when I woke up today, because I'm not awake for Asia session or the dead gap zone here, but when I woke up today, I saw what had happened. And first of all, you've got to understand that a candle like this, when price returns there, that spikes to the high and closes with a large wick like that, when price returns there, that's going to be highly volatile, okay? So you're going to have fast moves. In addition to that, on the daily time frame, when you zoom out, it also shows here that, oh, my screen is freezing. It shows here that this is going to be a highly volatile zone. So in order for Bitcoin to break through and give us a new all-time high, we have to expect that we're going into a war zone here, and it's not going to be easy. And eventually, if we do break to a new all-time high, eventually it will power through because it's the only way to get through, which is why in my Discord update on Sunday, I speak to my community a lot different to the way I speak to you guys on YouTube. But here, what did I say? I said, if you don't have a long position, you better get yourself one before it's too late. It's just a matter of figuring out where to long, in my opinion. It's not a matter anymore of are we bullish or bearish. It's just a matter of figuring out where do we long, because it's LFG time, okay? So now let me go back to explain this. Whilst I have that higher time frame bias, I also understand on the 1 hour time frame that we're entering a battle zone, a big battle zone, and we've got strong sellers here, okay? So we need momentum and power in order to push through it, and blue vectors aren't momentum and power. Hopefully this is making sense, okay? So for that reason, my dishwasher is beeping, and now it's going to beep all session and it's going to annoy me. Wait, I just have to stop it. 1 second. Like the video while I'm gone. Okay, crisis averted. Now we can do this in peace. Okay, so what was I saying? Yes, I'm expecting volatility. So at the same time, because I want to protect my high time frame long, I also want to hedge positions when I feel we're entering into the battle zone. So when I woke up today and I saw this blue vector with the massive wick, couldn't close above the halfway mark of that vector, and then I saw the second attempt in these candles, with weakness as well. Both of them have wicks to the top, and then following that, just to show it to you really clearly, we then get the lower high back at the high of the week, okay? So I can see all your comments. You guys are making me laugh in the chat. So therefore, that was enough reason for me to say, look, open a short position as a hedge. Best case scenario, you're going to get a day trade short, which I would be targeting initially back to here, which is, no, it's not. I'm going to target to the 200 EMA. That's going to be my target, somewhere around there. But of course, I'm going to check this at session changeovers, because if what's going to happen now is, let me show you on the 15-minute time frame because it's a lot clearer. If the uptrend is going to continue, which at this point in time I don't exactly know, but that would mean that this was our W for the week, and this through here is rise 1, and this through here is coming back for the retest, okay? Now you should not short after rise 1. It's the wrong thing to do. But in this case, like I said to you, I'm hedging my bets on my long-term long positions, and in this case it kind of makes sense to me simply because of where we are in the battle zone. So for this reason, at the session changeovers, first of all, I'm going to check the 15-minute 200 EMA. it's UK now, so it'll be somewhere towards the end that I would come back to check again. I don't really watch price mid-session because there's no point. And if we have crossed below that, then the next area I'm going to watch is the 800 because that's 50% of the high and the low of the week, okay? So these two areas are important to me today. Just if you don't have these indicators yourself, just remember on the 15-minute time frame, the 200 EMA and the 800 EMA, they're around the right area. Now, if at any of those we happen to bounce, then that is what's going to give me more confidence that this is rise 1, this is a retracement, and I would expect rise 2 next, which should then take us into that battle zone, hopefully. And if that were to happen at those areas, that's where I would close that short and I would get ready for the long to break out. So at the same time, that all of that happening could give you pullback entries on your altcoins, okay? So is there anything else I want to check on Bitcoin before I move on? Oh yeah, I just want to quickly check the funding rates as well. Or I mean, I have checked them, but I just want to point them out to you that they're still very, very neutral. There's really nothing to worry about here. So even though we're getting, you know, a lot of this action is happening in futures, it's not so much in spot. We're not seeing these big funding rate spikes. So that there's no caution here yet, which basically means you can just ride the trend that you're seeing, okay? So we don't have to worry about that. We should keep an eye on funding rates at least once a day, but at this point in time, they're not giving us anything crazy to worry about. So before I do move on to altcoins, I wanted to point this out. And this is Ben Cowan. He's saying, just like usual, alt BTC pairs were rejected from their bull market support band. So he's saying currently that alts are still bearish against Bitcoin. And as we know, if alts are bearish against Bitcoin, then you know, you're not going to, even if they're in an uptrend in their USDT pair, you just don't make as big percentage gains. So I hope that you understand that that is what the point is of charting altcoins against Bitcoin. It's not necessarily to sell your Bitcoin for alts. It's just to know where you're going to make the most money. So I will take a look at alts, but first what I want to do is I want to actually take a look at the traditional markets. Where do I have them? Here. Because the S&P and NASDAQ were also clues that gave me the confidence to long Bitcoin yesterday. And the reason for that is if we have a look at S&P, wait, that's not S&P, this one is. So let me have a look at this on, I'll go on a higher time frame first. So with the S&P, again, on my last update, I was saying that this was the next area of interest that we needed to break through, okay? And so what I was watching yesterday was for signs that we were going to break through it. So once I have my high time frame area of interest, then all I'm really doing is watching it on a lower time frame and I'm just looking at the trend. So yesterday, before I took that W trade position, I was really just looking at this and I saw this movement. This came in following the W, okay? So Bitcoin was here, all right? It had created the double bottom and the S&P at the same time was here creating a higher low in comparison to this. So to me, this, and I think I saw this blue vector from memory. I can't remember exactly, but I know it was around here and I saw, okay, S&P's in a slow trend, uptrend. A slow trend is a true trend. So therefore, if the S&P is going to continue its true trend to the upside, Bitcoin's probably going to benefit from that as well. So this gave me the confidence to actually take that long position as well. And I noticed that happening on the NASDAQ. Now, the thing is, if you want to trade this method, you have to anticipate things like this. This is what you're learning before you actually do take trades. And I think this is why a lot of people sort of sit there with their finger on the pulse, but they don't actually enter the trade because they're always waiting for something to happen and then it happens and then they're like, oh, I didn't get in because I thought something else was going to happen and now what do I do? And the thing is you just have to take a chance. So with Bitcoin yesterday, there was a lot of confusion about this in Discord. Some people got it, some people didn't believe it, and that's totally fair because you have to stick to your own conviction. But at the end of the day, when I say that, stick to your own conviction, what did I say? I said there was a liquidation level here and I was going to see how price reacted. And there was another one higher, Price at the first one didn't react well, so sat on my hands. Price at the second one gave me a double bottom, so I acted. And that's all it is. And I think sometimes when you're learning to trade, you can get too stuck in believing that you need more education. And for some people, that's true, right? But for others, if you are deep diving into a trading strategy and you have been, doing courses or whatever it is for a long time, sometimes more education isn't what you need. Sometimes more practice is what you need. And if you ever get to where you see something like this and you feel uncertain, take the trade on $1. Just take it on $1. Make it not about the money. Make it about the knowledge and the experience, because at the end of the day, when it plays out, that's going to increase your confidence over time. And then you'll stop second guessing yourself. So that's my rant and advice for the day on that one. Now, what else do I want to say? So I've shown you, Ben, we had a look at S&P. NASDAQ did the same thing, and Dixie gave us the H pattern to continue down. So those were all parts of my reasons why I felt confident to long yesterday. And another thing, speaking about alts, we can see here that bar chart says that retail traders bought $4.1 billion of US stocks during the first 3 hours of yesterday's trading session. That's the most in history. So it goes to show that there is money out there, right? There is money out there. We've been saying for a long time, we need QE. I don't know if we need QE. We really just need to trade what we see. All we're really waiting for is for some of that money that is clearly out there to start rotating into altcoins, right? And so, once we do that, you're going to, that's going to be the time to get involved in altcoins. And so I'm going to take a look at some altcoins now. But before I do that, if you need somewhere to trade on, be sure to check out Bitget. Bitget is an exchange that I really love, especially in the bull market, because on Bitget, you can trade futures with this here, which is Coin M futures. And see all of these altcoins here, they're all like the high market cap ones. So that means they're less likely to be volatile and stop you out on stop hunt weeks if you trade well. But with all of these, you can trade using Bitcoin as your collateral if you want, which means that, when some of these altcoins have huge explosions, like XRP, when it takes off massively. Doge, when it takes off massively. So if you were using Bitcoin as your margin for these trades, and then they take off, you end up making bigger percentages, but you collect your profits in Bitcoin. And we should always be trying to accumulate more Bitcoin. So this is what I use Bitget for. I think it's amazing for that. With a lot of other exchanges, they do have coin futures, but they don't. You have to use the coin as the collateral. So for example, if you were taking this Doge, you have to have Doge. Whereas on this one, you can actually use Bitcoin. So it's pretty incredible. If you're interested, check out the link in the description of the video, because you also, on top of that, get 20% trading fee rebate for life. No scam here. It's not just a 1 month deal. It's forever. And speaking of XRP now, they... Actually, should I talk about XRP or should we talk about alts first? No, let's talk about XRP and then I'll go into the full charts. So you may be aware that XRP futures started on CME, I think it was yesterday, racking up 1.5 million trading volume. Now, I don't actually think that's big, to be honest with you. Like, I don't actually think that's a huge amount of money. Let me know what you think in the comments. Yeah, I think in normal trading we do a lot more than that. But it does give institutional traders regulated exposure to XRP, and it paves the way for more altcoins to get listed like this on CME eventually. So it's good anyway. According to this article, the debut signals a growing appetite for diversified crypto exposure in institutional markets. All good, all good. It's a vote of confidence for XRP, for its long-term relevance. So let's go and have a look now how the charts are reacting. I'm going to go over the ones that Jacob mentioned, and I'm also going to do XRP. But let's do XRP first. Dishwasher dominance is at 100%. What? Have I missed something? Bitget is not no KYC. It is a KYC exchange, but if you're looking for non-KYC, there are other options in the description of the video. Bitget is a non-KYC exchange that I like to trade on, and that also gives you the rebates there too. Now, let me talk to you about about XRP. I'm talking about these on as high time frame analysis, because if we get our dominances doing what we want, which I should have a look at them actually. Let's have a look at dominances first. One sec. So I did have a look at this morning, and we'll do a quick check of the Bitcoin dominance. And yeah, like I said on Sunday, we really need to see it reject and create a lower high next. Otherwise, it's not yet time to go balls to the wall with your alts, essentially. But we want to see a lower high here and then at least come to the 200 EMA. Now, if it can do that and then break, don't forget, if it comes to 200 EMA, it can use that as support and continue up. Because look here, it's used the 200 EMA as support many times. So that's not going to be time to get all excited. We would then need one more. We'd need like a retest, and then we'd need to come down to this trend line. And this trend line, it's held since the bear market bottom in November 2022. So there's still a lot of work to do, right? And then we want to break that if we're really going to have our parabolic alt season. But these little moves down in the meantime, they give you that mini alt season that I've talked about if you choose the right ones. And what was I going to say? Yeah, the 3 to, let's say 3 week to 3 month kind of alt run, depending on which ones you choose, okay? So even though we're waiting for this to break down further to get super excited, in the meantime, as it's slowly moving down, there are opportunities for more shorter term trades. The stablecoin dominance is just slowly consolidating after a move down. That's great. We just want it to stay under the 200 EMA and continue to reject and continue heading down. So it's not much to talk about there. But this one, so this is the total minus stablecoins, and on my last update, I said we wanted to retest. This area would be ideal. It just looks like it's in the process of doing that. So whilst Bitcoin may pull back now, if that also causes altcoins to pull back, we may come back into this retest zone. That's when you're going to start looking for some bullish signals. And if you see the buying strength, that's when you will then go and have a look at your altcoins. And I suggest trading them on a higher time frame if you get all of that, because they could turn out, like I said, to be multi-week or potentially multi-month trades. Now, so here's an example with XRP. So XRP is broken out and it's in the process of retesting. We've got this nice big vector candle here on the daily time frame that caused the breakout. And if it comes back into that range and then gives you bullish candlestick confirmations, that would be an area to enter. So anywhere within that green vector, ideally middle to top of it, not necessarily bottom of it, but it really depends on what the candle structure looks like at the time. Now you can see I've put this red flag here with XRP. If XRP does come back, retest and give you strength here and then break out, you would expect that it's going to break this high eventually. However, before it does that, you're going to enter the same battle zone, similar to what I said on Bitcoin. And the reason for that is let's just investigate this area. First of all, you had the first attempt, which caused a pretty high volume sell-off, right? This was back in December 2024. Came down, maintained structure, and then it went through and it eventually broke through it. But when it came back into it again, look how volatile it was yet again in that zone with this blue vector right here, okay? Then failing to get out of the zone, it broke down pretty sharp and fast with high volatility. Came back to repeat it, couldn't get through it, rejected again. On this attempt, it's tried again, and have a look at this price action right here. It tried to push through with so much volume, and it then just had enough equal volume to take it right back down. So this area is going to be a very scary zone. If you get an entry on XRP, if we do get our higher low here, and it does start to look like it's going to change trend and enter this zone, just be prepared to like watch with one eye open, because it's going to be hard to get through that zone because it's been a big battle zone for a long time. And it makes sense because it's at around the $3 range. So it's a round number, okay? If it can get through that $3 zone, then I think it's Valhalla time. So just be aware of that. it may be an area that you want to set a partial take profit just in case something like this happens again. And then if it happens to break through, we still got something in the trade. So that's how I personally would play that one. Now, what else? Let's go through these ones that Jacob spoke about. So this is 𝗍. I don't particularly like this, and I'm telling you about the trade, but I'm not going to take it. So I'm just telling you. What would need to happen with 𝗍 is we've got this double bottom here. We've got a breakout attempt to the 200 EMA. We're in the process of retesting now, and we're around about the 50 EMA. So this part here is what is currently happening, providing it holds this area around the 50 EMA. So if it did that, if you are an aggressive trader, you could take an entry somewhere there. Right now, I wouldn't, because the candle is currently looking bearish, okay? So have a look again at this tomorrow, seeing how the daily closes. And if it closes bullish, you could, or maybe it will just keep consolidating for a while. And if it does, you're just waiting for that bullish candle close on the daily before you get into it. Now, so that's for aggressive traders. But why would I not take that? Because even taking that entry, at best, I have to have my first take profit back here, because that is the resistance, the prior resistance that it's failed to get above many, many times. And it's also going to be the 200 EMA. So I can't really bank on the fact that it's going to break through that. And if it doesn't break through it, it could just reject again and continue a downtrend. So it's a very high risk play, and you would have to heavily believe in 𝗍 for some fundamental reason to want to be buying it at this low, okay? Now, if you're just a trader and you're like, I don't really care about it, I just want to make money from it, then on this particular one, I would be taking the conservative entry. So yes, you're going to get in at a higher price, but that doesn't matter, because everything is about risk to reward, not the price. And if you got something like this, you would be better off, because at least now you know you're out of the battle zone. You know that you have definitely changed the market structure. It's gotten above the 200 EMA, which it hasn't been able to do since February. And on a retest, it's a much safer entry. So if I wanted to get in on 𝗍, that's where I'd be looking to get in on it. But it's got a fair few battle zones again along the way. So we've got, this is a highly volatile area where we spiked down. We tried to buy back up, couldn't buy back up. The buyers weren't strong enough, and it came back down, failed there. So that's going to have to be an area to watch. And the next one's going to be this. You can see the volatility here. Look at the wicks in all these candles on both sides. So this is a very highly volatile area. There's going to be another area to take some partial profit. And then the last one will be through here, where we had the fast move up, stayed there for a couple of days, fast move back down. So those would be the three, you know, should we go into some epic altcoin run. Now, with 𝗍𝗿, it's taken off massively, so too late. But what do you do if you're too late? Who's actually still left in the space to buy alts? Everyone's left. You know what? I agree with you, Chris. And if you watch my videos in January, I was out. I was out in January, and I copped it for that, and it's now May. When I talk about alts now, and ever since that video, it's for short-term trades. And I hope that that is very clear on this channel. This is why I'm giving you, if you pay attention, I'm giving you stop losses and I'm giving you take profit ranges. You probably don't see that on many other channels. They just give you entries, right? And you got to figure out where to sell. Smash the like if you like that detailed information. Because these, to me, when you see a stop loss and a take profit range, it's a trade. It's not a buy and hold forever scenario, alt season's coming, let's get erratically excited. It's not that. It's let's just trade this, and at every take profit range, we take some money off and we decide if it's going to reject there. And if we think it is, we're out completely. And if we think it's going to keep going, we leave some in and ride that wave. So speaking of that rant over, with 𝗍𝗿, we've missed the initial move. There wasn't really a clear entry signal on it anyway, to be fair. You didn't get a W formation here, so it was tricky. Got the break of the 50 held as support. Could you have entered there? Yeah, you could have. That would have really been your only measured area to enter a position, but I didn't see it, so we didn't. And now we've moved out. So it's going to have a resistance level here at about 277, okay? So we need to see what happens. If it rejects at the 277, the ideal play will be that it will come back for a retrace And in that retrace, the 50 and the 200 are going to cross because look, they're close to crossing now. So once they cross, they will then trend kind of like this as either the price comes back or the price consolidates and the EMAs match up to it. As long as those EMAs start acting as support, that's where you could take a long entry on it. So this will be a while away because this is the daily time frame, don't forget. And wherever that happens, your stop loss can just go under the EMA at the time. So it's not an exact level. Yeah, you'd have to judge that when it actually does happen. But what I would be doing on this in particular is probably at this vector here, just the top half of it, just set a box around it and set an alert. If it happens to come back, then you've got a good entry for a long position. If it doesn't, you don't want to chase something that's already running anyway. Like there's millions of altcoins. We don't have to chase something if we miss the perfect entry. Let the price come to you. If it comes to you, then we play the game. If it doesn't, then we just look for something else. Wait, did I have to say anything else? So the take profit is here up in this high volatility zone. And again, definitely would take some profit there. See what happens. If it's looking super bullish, we might go and break this high next. Maker. So with this one, same sort of situation. So we've got this really long-term, it's not really the same situation, it's completely different, Anastasia. So we've got this really long-term downtrend, right? And then the downtrend started to create higher lows, which gave us this little triangle at the end, which was a hint that it was going to break trend, which it did. And what's good about it currently is that when it broke the trend, it gave us a higher high. Perfect, great. That means we now look for the retrace to get an entry. And so I've marked this area of interest. It may not come down as low as what I would like. But again, like I said to you, I'm looking for the best area that I would be willing to play the game. I'm not looking for an entry because I have FOMO, okay? Because like I said, just look for something else. It's fine. So if it comes back down into here, look, ideally this green vector, like the lower half of it, but that's why I say I may not get my entry because that's not as likely. Like when price returns, it usually returns to the middle, to the top of it, and it already has. You can see with these wicks here. Okay, so I may not get my entry. I'm just letting you know. But in an ideal world, I would like to see a deeper retracement because the 200 and the 50 EMA is there. And so again, I would just set my alert at the top of this area of interest. If it happened to spike in there, I would take an entry. My stop loss would be under here, but actually, if it came back and it didn't go lower than this consolidation, my stop loss could then actually be under that consolidation. So I'll leave it here for now to be safe, but just know if it comes back and gives a higher low, it can actually be higher. And then there's a fair few targets for this because, again, we go into these highly volatile ranges and we're just looking, this one's my first target because it's a red vector and we came back here. I just want to make sure you can see price. Yes, you can. So we come back, right? So that tells us that there were strong sellers here that pushed the price down. And when they tried to return, the sellers are still there. And now every time we return to that zone is going to get weaker and weaker with sellers. So if we get back into it, we need to test the strength of them at the time. And that's why it's good to have a partial take profit there, because if they move fast, then you don't get out. It hits your target, but you didn't exit. So have something to take off the table there. And then if it breaks through, it's the same here. So see, we had this red vector. Look how many times we've tried to repeat it, many. So we know there are strong sellers there. So that's going to be a second take profit area. And then of course the third is always the prior high. What else do I have? Curve. Okay, let me speed through this. So curve, as you know, for me, it's a favorite. It's a long-term play. You know, I learned about it from Pedro. And guys, if you are interested in learning about actual projects, definitely watch Pedro's videos on this channel because he knows some shit, this guy. Like he knows some shit, really. And he makes really good altcoin picks. But he believes in alts for the long term. He is a multi-cycle holder. And some of the things that he talks to me about, he's turning me into a bit of that believer as well. But right now I'm just a trader. And anyway, so I take what he has long-term conviction in and I trade it for money. And that's it's working for me. So curve for that reason has been really great. Higher low before the breakout, perfect. Got the breakout, higher high after the breakout, perfect. Now all we want is the retrace. It's currently holding the 50 EMA, and because curve is quite bullish, that may be the best we get. It's up to you whether you take your chance on that. For me personally, I would rather see a retest of the 200 EMA. But one thing you could do if you also have long-term conviction in this, what you could do is stagger entries without even thinking about it. Just go place limit orders between the 50 and the 200 and have your stop loss just under the 200, right? So you might put 3 orders in this range and just see what gets picked up. You may pick up 1, you may pick up all 3, but then at least you're in the game. And again, your take profit is back at the next vector candle and then the prior high. Okay. Oh, I've done them all. Anastasia. I've done them all. I've done all the ones that we wanted to mention. Let me see. Let me know in the comments, is there anything that you want me to cover quickly? I'll give you 5 minutes of charting time because I don't like my live streams to go on for too long. But whilst I'm waiting for your comments to come through, I just want to tell you I'm so freaking excited today because I'm signing the documents for my new home. And I should have the keys this week. And I tell you what, I cannot wait to live in my own home. You know, I've been here for 2.5 years and I've been saving and I've been working my ass off and I've been trading like a freaking maniac. And the time has come. I'm finally going to have my own home in Dubai. And yeah, can't wait. Cannot freaking wait. Okay, what are you guys talking about? Link. Yeah, let's do link. Okay. Where is link? Okay, so link looks similar to curve to me actually, but I tell you what I don't like is that it's between the 2 EMAs. So right now it's between the 50 and the 200, and we've on the daily so far, still has 15 hours to go. It's fairly wicky to the top. So that could just mean that there's more of a retrace to come. Perfect. What I do like is this vector right here. And let me mark this vector out. Yeah, okay. So the halfway mark of it is around the 50 EMA. Let's see if it settles there. If we get a couple more days that it settles there, I don't think there's a huge rush on link, but I do think that would be a good entry if it can hold that level. And we have gotten through this. Oh, have we? Not really. We haven't actually got through this. So this here you can see is the biggest last battle zone, right? We wicked into it here. We tried to break it, couldn't. Sellers were still too strong, led to another downtrend. So it's imperative that we get above 1745 for link if we're going to have further upside. So it may just be that it's made the attempt, it's coming back, it's got to build the steam here, and then the next one should push through. So yeah, if it holds around the 50 over the next few days, I would say it's a good entry as long as the daily candle closes bullish, then there would be a good entry. And then I would expect that it will break through this. And you can see why it's a battle zone, right? So look at this red vector right here. Okay, and then when price returned, it's to the bottom half of the vector, again, bottom half of the vector, again. So that's 3 times now. Remember I said to you when we return, we get weaker every time. So it could be that the next one breaks through, which would be great. If it does, then we worry about this area next here which would be a take profit because you would be in a long position. So it would be a TP zone here and then the prior high. What else do you want? I feel like I do HBAR all the time, so I won't do that one, but I don't do Filecoin. So let's have a look at that. Doesn't look all that exciting to me. So at a quick glance, when I look at this, I would click off. So again, it's very easy. You can mark the vector candle of it. And at this point, the candles are on the halfway mark. That's decent. Haven't moved out yet. it's similar story to Link. If it can settle here, then there will be an entry. If the retracement keeps coming down to the bottom of that green vector, then I wouldn't act on this yet. So there's a chance. Keep watching it over the next couple of days. But if it does give you that entry, then again, look where your battle zone is, right through here. Because again, you can see many attempts to break through to get into this vector candle zone, and it couldn't, right? This one here was a very strong sell-off, but again, every time should be getting weaker. So if you do get a higher low, I would say that it will probably go again one more time. So if it holds here, it will go again one more time, and I would say it probably will reject because the 200 EMA is there. But that's okay. If it rejects and gives a higher low, then I would expect it's actually going to break out. And if it does, that breakout there will probably be fast because this was fast, right? So all you really have to do is just get through this zone. So wait for a higher low. If you get it, have some partial take profit here just in case it rejects again. You can always then put that profit back in here if it does give you the higher low, and then you're going to make even more money on the breakout because the breakout will be a big trade. Okay. What else? 𝗬𝗍. Okay, I'll do. I think 𝗬𝗍's like too hard to get an entry on now, isn't it? Let me check. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'd rather look for a big opportunity. Would this break out and then break the all-time high? Maybe, but you can't bank on, I don't know if this is the all-time high, but this high. You can't bank on that happening, right? So when you're looking at technical analysis, you have to look at what has happened, not what might happen. There's no guarantee of a breakout. When I look at this is rise 1, retrace, rise 2, right? So we're in the retrace. So a rise 3 would likely get us back to that high. So is that going to be the best trade? Let's figure it out. If you got in, see it's holding the 20, your stop loss really should be under this green vector here, okay? Because that's the area that is likely to come back to. And then your take profit has to be here. So it's a 2.7 to 1 risk to reward. It's not the best, you know what I mean? Like that Bitcoin trade that I showed you yesterday was a 5 to 1 risk to reward in a couple of hours. So this is a daily time frame. You'd have to hold on to this for so long to make a 2.7 to 1. So not ideal. What might be a bit better? Let's see. Yeah, look. At best, you might get a 3. It's all right. It's all right, but... And look, then if it happens to break out, great. Then you're on to a winner of a trade and it's going to keep going. But that's like crossing your fingers and hoping, you know? So, yeah, look, there is a trade there. I'll tell you that much. There is a trade there if it creates the higher low. It's just not a huge one in my opinion. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to smash that like button and that's all I have to say. And if you want to get in on these trades, like if you want to be in on these trades early, consider joining us at TTC. Oh, crap, I've got to tell you something very important. Last night, because I was in such a good mood, I launched a 24-hour only 50% discount off your first month of a TTC membership for new members. So if you are wanting to join us, this is the chance. There's only 12 hours left now on this offer. Once it's gone, it's gone. And yeah, all you have to do is go to my Twitter. It's linked in the description down below. Make sure you go to the link to get it because there's 1,000 scam accounts. And the only way to get the real one is to get it from the link in the description of this video. I'm going to show you quickly how to enter the code because it's not that easy to find. So from our website, you just go down and pick the membership that you want, right? Click on sign up now. And then one day the page will load and then when it does, you go here where it says, do you have a discount code? You click on that and you put the code in there, hit apply, and then it will tell you that it's applied that code, okay? So that's how you get it. If you don't do that, then it's going to be too late. And remember, there's only a few hours left. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Hope you enjoyed this video.